Good morning, everybody. Thank you very much for joining us. We are just going to give it another minute to allow people to join us. Those of us in South Africa, we know we are dealing with some load shedding challenges. We are recording and we will be sharing the recording with those who did RSVP and who couldn't make it this morning as a result of challenges. So please, in the meantime, do say hello in the Zoom chat, and then we will get going quite soon. Tell us who you are, from where you are, and why you are attending this session this morning. Craig, I don't know if you want to say hi in the meantime while we just give it a minute.
Hi, in the meantime, good to see some familiar faces and some new people. And yeah, this is exciting times. Let's get the energy going and get with it.
Oh, Brad.
I see we've even got people from Honolulu. My word, that's awesome.
Welcome, Brad. What time is it at the moment there where you are?
It's actually 10 p.m. on Tuesday.
Yeah. Oh, thank you so much for staying up. Sorry, you were saying?
Nani, what do you say?
No, I say thank you very much for staying up, as it is 10 a.m. here where we are in South Africa at the moment. So we also have Craig from Muldersdrift in Gauteng, South Africa, JB from Cape Town, and he's intrigued by AI and loves the work that Exosystems and Exofutures is doing. We all part from the same group. Welcome back, JP. Great to welcome you back to one of our sessions. Yeah, I think, Craig, would you mind monitoring the chat for us? I will monitor and admit people. And I think it's a very good time for us to start. People will join us during the course of the morning. If you don't mind, I am going to stop my video because we are having load shedding in the area, and that will just help me a little bit with bandwidth. So you've all seen what I look like. I am human. I am not a piece of AI. I have blood pumping through my heart, and I think I proved that to you all now. Just admitting Nigel as well. Craig, if you can do the welcomes in the chat as I admit people.
Yeah, there's cool.
I am muting my video. That's a human speaking. Good. So hello, everyone. Welcome to the Embrace the Future of Business Growth. Ignite your organization with AI experimentation. So thank you very much for joining us today. And we've got people from all over the globe that's registered. And I know of at least Brad all the way from the USA here. And I think, Brad, you need to invite us to come over to come and talk to you face to face about what we are talking about today. So throughout this workshop, we will be delving into the incredible possibilities that AI experimentation holds for driving exponential business growth. But first and foremost, let me assure you that this workshop is designed for everyone. This is not a high technical workshop, and you do not need any prior AI expertise to participate fully. Now, Craig and I will, we are not artificial technical experts, but between us, we do bring a wealth of knowledge and understanding when it comes to exponential transformation and its impact on organizations. During our time together, and I think, Craig, we have celebrated 8 years of working together on 1 June this year. Celebrated from our side, I don't know so much from your side. We have really developed valuable insights and experiences, and we believe that we will be able to shine the light on the exponential attributes of experimentation, and we are going to talk a little bit more about that in a moment. and its powerful synergy with artificial intelligence. We will explore how experimentation can be a catalyst for your organization's growth and also help you embrace the future with confidence. There's a lot of uncertainty out there in the world, especially in countries like South Africa, as an example. And Brad, I think even in America, per se. So get ready to embark on this exciting journey with us this morning. Together, and I need to emphasize that, together we are going to learn together, exchange ideas, and uncover the incredible potential that AI experimentation holds for your organization and our organization's exponential growth. So let's dive in and make the most of this workshop. So I think just to remind everybody who's joined, the reason you're not seeing me is we are having load shedding. I did have my video on earlier. I'll switch it on in a moment again, just so that you can also see that I am a human and not an AI system talking to you. So let's first do some introductions from our sides, Craig. If you wouldn't mind introducing yourself, Craig, to everybody who's here today.
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Liesl. I'm a serial entrepreneur and a bit of a sucker for punishment when it comes to ideation and validating new ways to get things done. So when we saw how much hype there is around AI, we decided to launch this program around validating what you can do with AI from a business perspective. Yeah, so this is part of our Exo Futures training offering for us. Thanks, Liesl.
Thanks, Craig. And Craig will be participating and supporting me this morning and monitoring the chat, etc. So please do ask questions as they come up in the chat. We will have a Q&A session later on as well. So I'm Liesl, and both Craig and myself are open EXO consultants, coaches, and trainers. If you haven't heard about Open EXO, please do visit their website. And this is really where our passion about exponential transformation and leadership has come from. So specifically, I focus on building sustainable ecosystems and driving exponential growth through experimentation. And we do this through Exo Futures, which is the training company within the group, the Exo group, which I have mentioned briefly earlier. So hopefully we can contribute significantly to you today by us realizing the power artificial intelligence, which are now being recognized as an exponential technology, which it adds to another exponential attribute of exponential organizations, which is experimentation. So please, I would like to reiterate, please contribute and participate. We have a wealth of knowledge present in this workshop today. Let's learn from each other and let's blend our expertise and insights into the content that we are going to discuss today. So let's get right into the content. What we hope to get out of today is to emphasize the importance of continuous learning and a fail fast, learn fast philosophy in the age we are finding ourselves today. We will then introduce the concept of experimentation, and specifically from the Write It's perspective. It's a book that was launched a number of years ago that really introduced experimentation and its relevance in business growth. And then we will relate that for us to exponential experimentation as an attribute for exponential organizations and achieving success. We will then marry that and link to that to artificial intelligence and its components. So we are going to quickly define AI and look at its components, but we are going to relate that to exponential experimentation so that we can understand the link between AI and experimentation and the concepts around AI experimentation. And then we will look at real-world examples of organizations who are currently achieving transformative outcomes through AI experimentation. And then we are going to get you to work a little bit. So I hope you have pen and paper available to take notes during the workshop, as we are going to unpack a case study together with you, where we are going to apply AI for optimizing experiments. We would like to get to that point in the workshop. However, what we also would like to look at is how we can introduce the power of AI experimentation by looking at different steps. And we've defined 10 steps to enable that for us. Good. So let's dive into the content. As I've mentioned in the objectives that we would like to achieve here, is that we would like to emphasize the importance of continuous learning mindset and a fail fast, learn fast philosophy in this exponential age. Why do we need a fail fast, learn fast philosophy? And why do we need to engage a continuous learning mindset? So as we know, in today's rapidly changing and unpredictable, and I'm emphasizing unpredictable and rapidly changing business landscape, traditional approaches are no longer enough to ensure success and keep up with the pace of innovation. We attended the book launch of Exponential Organizations 2.0 last week, and we hosted the watch party in Johannesburg. And Salim Ismail and Peter Diamandis, some of you may have heard of them, even made the statement publicly to a global audience that there's no more place in organizations for traditional strategy definition due to the changing and unpredictable business landscape that we find ourselves in. So the exponential age demands a different mindset, one that embraces continuous learning and experimentation. Now, a continuous learning mindset emphasizes the importance of ongoing learning, growth, and adaptation. It encourages us and organizations to constantly seek new knowledge, acquire new skills, and stay updated with emerging trends and technologies. Now, just reflect for a moment personally, you as an individual, how difficult is it for us to stay up to date with how the business landscape is evolving and to stay up to date with emerging trends and technologies? Every second of every day almost, I get LinkedIn notifications on a new post on an exponential technology. And if we just look at the last couple of weeks, not even months, at how AI has exploded for business and from a technical perspective, it's very difficult to stay up to date. Therefore, the fail fast, learn fast philosophy complements a continuous learning mindset. And our employees and ourselves and organizations must adopt this fail fast, learn fast philosophy and a continuous learning mindset to adapt and to stay ahead of our competitors. Now, a fail fast, learn fast philosophy recognizes that failure is an inevitable part of the learning process, and it encourages us to embrace it as an opportunity for growth. It's an opportunity for growth. We shouldn't be scared of it. We shouldn't be scared of failing. Instead of being discouraged by failures, we should view them as valuable lessons that inform our future actions and decisions. Now, by adopting a fail fast, learn fast approach, we can quickly test ideas, gather feedback, iterate, and refine our strategies, products, and processes. This iterative process allows us to accelerate our learning, make informed decisions, and adapt to the dynamic demands of the exponential age. Now, we believe that experimentation and AI can enable this mindset and this fail fast, learn fast philosophy which we need to adopt. So by cultivating a continuous learning mindset and embracing the fail fast, learn fast philosophy, we open ourselves up to new possibilities, innovation, and transformative growth. These principles empower us to be proactive, resilient, and adaptable in the face of uncertainty. Craig, you have your hand raised.
Yeah, I'm just thinking of the example that Salim gave on the XO 2.0 launch last week of Amazon. You know, one of the organizations typically struggle with is allowing people to test and validate ideas, and you know, the whole having new ideas is not just about an ideas box that you post a little note in. And the policy that Amazon adopted was that if you go to your manager and say, I want to try this idea out, and the manager says no, they have to write a motivation and publish it as to why they said no. So encouraging, you know, ideation and validating new ideas is part of that learn fast and iterative learning thinking.
Absolutely. And these principles empower us to be proactive, to your point. It empowers us to be resilient. It empowers us to be adaptable. And it empowers us to face uncertainty even. So it will enable us to leverage experimentation, therefore, as a powerful tool, and we're going to talk about experimentation in a moment, for discovering new solutions, optimizing existing processes, and driving sustainable success in this exponential age. Now, I would like to emphasize the point around sustainable. Many of us are currently in South Africa faced with the impact of the US dollar exchange rate to the rand. And some of our products that we offer locally is US dollar based in terms of licenses, etc., that we may have to pay. Now, we need to be able to face these unpredictable situations so that we can drive sustainability for success. And adopting a continuous learning mindset, a fail fast, learn fast philosophy with AI experimentation could help us face uncertainty from a business perspective. And we will discuss some examples in a moment. So as we move forward in this workshop, we would like you to keep in mind the importance of cultivating a continuous learning mindset, which do not come naturally to many of us, and also embrace the fail fast, learn fast philosophy, something else that doesn't come naturally to us. We have been conditioned to think and work in a certain way. So keep this in mind all the time. And as soon as you feel that some resistance is building up to some of the concepts that we are going to share with you, think back to this discussion around adopting a continuous learning mindset and a fail fast, learn fast philosophy. So we are not going to dive too deep into this further, as the focus of this workshop is around looking at and understanding the potential of experimentation, driving exponential business growth, and optimizing that with artificial intelligence.
There's also just your sound every now and then cuts out like one word in the sentence. I'm not sure if everyone's having that experience.
I apologize for that. It could be the network on my side. I'm not receiving any network warnings. Is it a bit better now?
Yeah, it's intermittent, but keep going.
Okay. I will re-record this. I hope it improves. So let's look at experimentation now. In the Write It, Why So Many Ideas Fail and How to Make Sure Yours Succeed by author Alberto Sovia, the concept of experimentation is emphasized along with the innovative approach of prototyping, not prototyping, prototyping. Experimentation involves systematically testing ideas, hypotheses, or assumptions that we make about a product idea or a service idea, which we believe people will buy if we build it. But prototyping and experimentation from this perspective says that before we build it, let's first go and test this idea. Let's hypothesize about it, test the assumptions that we are making through real world observation and data collection. So what we are saying here is that experimentation will allow informed decision making and drive successful outcomes by testing, will people buy this product or this service before we build it? So when this interesting example of experimentation was introduced, obviously we looked at where are real life examples of experimentation happening. So we all know Elon Musk, and we also know of Tesla, the automated vehicle, but we might not all know that Elon Musk actually ran a real life experiment on Tesla before he even started building the vehicle. And what he did was he asked people, he created a prototype at a real vehicle. So he took a Tesla-like looking vehicle, and he then got people to drive the vehicle, etc., with the promise of automation involved in the future of vehicles. But then he got people to commit, get skin in the game by writing a $5,000 check as a deposit to get onto the waiting list of the Tesla Model 3. Now, this demonstrated a real world validation of customer interest in that they will buy this vehicle once it is built. And this also enabled him to raise the funds to build this vehicle. So this is a true example of experimentation. So by embracing this concept around prototyping and experimentation, individuals and organizations can minimize risk. We can maximize learning because they also got a lot of feedback from people, and also then increase the chances of success. And the Tesla story is historical in terms of the success that it has achieved. So what experimentation does, it fosters a culture of curiosity, creativity, and adaptability, where failures are viewed as learning opportunities. Continuous learning and iteration through experimentation and perhaps using this concept of prototyping will allow for exploring diverse ideas, rapid testing, and I'm emphasizing the word rapid testing, not building something and only being able to see if people will buy it in a year's time. You can do experimentation within a couple of weeks and the discovery of innovative solutions. So ultimately, experimentation empowers us to make informed decisions based on evidence and customer feedback. And the emphasis is, again, skin in the game from the customers and the feedback that we get from that. By supporting this approach of fail fast, learn fast, we can enable quick iterations then based on the feedback we get. We can validate this idea and outcome optimization as a result. Right?
Liesl, another simple example is number of people, instead of writing a book and then publishing it and hoping it will sell, they build their content out on blogs, and they monetize those blogs through websites like Medium, and then eventually the content gets put into a book that gets published. So you're getting skin in the game of in terms of the validity and appeal of the content in small bite-sized chunks that eventually becomes a book, as an example. And then you know that the book's going to sell because the content's selling on Medium as an example.
Yeah, 100%. That's an excellent other example. Now, I think you can see from these two examples and what we've explained already around experimentation that we are creating subsequently a culture of continuous learning, because we learn and get feedback and we reiterate based on that feedback. We are adaptable and we innovate based on the feedback that we receive, because often we think we know what the customer wants. Because we like telling our customers what we think they need. But instead here, we're obtaining real feedback from real customers. And that then contributes to us becoming more innovative, which leads to increased success in today's dynamic business landscape. Now let's embark on this journey of exploring and discovering how we can uncover the power of AI-enabled experimentation in shaping the futures of our organization. So when we explore the immense potential of artificial intelligence as an exponential technology and its transformative impact on driving innovation, efficiency and strategic decision-making, and you might hear the shift now from what we said around experimentation, where AI is going to drive transformative impact on driving innovation, efficiency, so it speeds up the innovation process, it speeds up the strategic decision-making process, and it has a positive impact on strategic decision-making because of the data that we are going to start working with. And also, it will enable us to really unlock the true power of experimentation when we introduce the concept of artificial intelligence. But before we go, we've referred to the book of Exponential Transformations 2.0 that launched last week. The first book launched in 2012. And back then, the concept around exponential organizations were introduced to the world, and that was supported by 11 attributes, of which experimentation is one that drives exponential business growth and success for organizations that would like to become exponential organizations. So it's important to us that we quickly just spend a few minutes on this concept of experimentation as an attribute for exponential organizations, because the power of this exponential attribute with the power of artificial intelligence as an exponential technology becomes exceptionally powerful. So building on the previous introduction to experimentation, the EXO, which is exponential organizations, EXO experimentation attribute emphasizes a systematic approach of testing ideas and hypotheses and assumptions fast in a real world situation where we gather real world data and insights. Brad, did you want to contribute here?
I was just wondering if we shouldn't take a small step back and just, for those people that are not familiar with exponential organizations, the short story is, and very briefly, what they did was they looked at the common attributes of the organizations in the market that had launched as kind of digital first, technology first organizations. The obvious ones would be the likes of Google and Tesla and Amazon and so on. And what the common attributes were that those organizations practiced or were, even without realizing it, were doing. And that's where the 11 attributes came from. And the most important one being that those organizations had a massive transformative purpose. So their intent was to make a huge impact, and of course to apply various technology other methods like experimentation to go exponential. So yeah, that just that brief background. So experimentation, as Liesl was saying, is just one of the 11 attributes of an exponential organization.
Yes, absolutely. And I think it's also important to note, JP, I will be with you shortly, that these attributes don't really work in standalone of each other. So in our detailed course on the masterclass on this topic, we would also refer to the attributes that experimentation does impact, as an example, algorithms. JP?
Good morning, everyone. Liesl, thank you for giving me a chance to ask a question. While we're on the MTP subject, you guys mentioned earlier that traditional strategic management is, I'm not sure if not applicable was the right term used, but I was wondering how do you see the place of traditional methods like pestle analysis, value chain capability, SWOT analyses fit into this world? I feel that the methods are still applicable. It's just the cycles. It's not a long strategic cycle, i.e., you don't plan for 3 or 5 years ahead, but that the principles and methods stay the same. But it's just the cycle, the shorter iterations on a greater strategic field, which you still analyze through the traditional methods. Or do you have any other comments on how do you sketch the strategic landscape in which your MTP will find itself in, so that you can then strategically pursue that MTP relative to your external environment?
Craig, I see you have unmuted.
Yeah, JP, that's a proper mouthful there. There's multiple questions it's pretty loaded, but I think the short answer is it's horses for courses. And, you know, in the context of the solution that you're engineering, the validation needs to be short and sharp and iterative, and you know, it needs to be market facing. So is there a customer? Will that customer pay for what you think you need to build? Can you prove that? You know, can you get skin in the game? Is way more important than what does the political landscape look like. You know, if you use the example of pestle analysis. So yeah, I mean, it's not always, you know, obviously there are licensing issues depending on what the product might be, if it's a wireless technology product, for example, but there are always other ways to validate what you're doing, and you don't have to work within the context of the existing regulations. And I mean, the crypto industry is proving that. You know, the crypto industry is out there to disrupt the financial systems of the world. That's the purpose of the crypto industry, not just disrupt it, but provide alternatives that really work. And they're doing it by, in many cases, ignoring the regulations and hoping that the regulators will follow. And many of the crypto exchanges are moving to London because the UK has become more friendly to, you know, the art of the possible in terms of these new systems than what the US is. So if your pestle analysis was focused on the US, you probably wouldn't launch an NFT or a coin or whatever the cryptography is. So yeah, I don't know if that answers the question, but it was a very broad question.
Yeah, I think to summarize, what we are saying is that we need to take care that traditional strategies do not allow for adaptability. Now, if you think a couple of years ago, even if you think to what happened in 2020 across the globe, when we all had to deal with the impact of the coronavirus or COVID on our businesses, very few organizations could adapt fast. We're not saying that there is no place, to Craig's point, that horses for courses. And definitely some of the tools are still very applicable, and we do not say erase everything that exists. What we are suggesting is that in this fail fast, learn fast approach and becoming a continuous learning organization, is that your strategy should be able to adopt such an approach. And much later on, I am going to refer to how the organization may need to change their approaches in this modern era of work, where things are changing at a rapid pace. Things we thought last week were applicable, not applicable this week anymore. So experimentation, experimentation as an attribute with artificial intelligence can potentially position you and your organization to become adaptable and stay ahead of the curve. We will share more information on our program around exponential organizations, where we do dive into all the attributes. But thank you very much for that thought-provoking question, JP. So just to move on then, and to summarize the experimentation attribute, it follows a structured approach. And I think lots of the tools, many of which you've mentioned, JP, enables the structured approach, which we all seem to seek as humans and as businesses. And experimentation attributes also follows a structured approach, and that involves the following main steps. Ideation, we've all heard of ideation in some of the other processes that exist, and then prototyping, which we previously touched on in terms of creating low-cost prototypes or simulations to validate many ideas, not just one idea at a time, many ideas at the same time, and gather feedback very quickly from those customers, enabling quick iterations and reducing risk. Risk reduction is quite important in this modern landscape which we find ourselves in. And then the third step in the structured process is data-driven testing. And this is one of the contributions artificial intelligence enables experimentation with further. So we conduct experiments in real-world settings, collecting and analyzing data to gain valuable insights. And then that's about our customers' preferences, not ours, their real-world preferences, and the market dynamics and performance matrix that we seek to achieve with this new idea that we would like to take to market. And just a correction there from myself, I keep on saying new product and service. It's even applicable to enhancing existing products and services, and not just new products and services. I may have an idea to enhance an existing product and service. You use the same process that we are describing here. And then, very importantly, learning and adaptation. So leveraging the data and insights obtained from experimentation, we can now make informed decisions, adjust strategies, and refine offerings to align the market and demands and maximize our success. So I think we've discussed the power of exponential experimentation as an attribute. We've aligned that to the definition of experimentation from the right X perspective. Now let's look at artificial intelligence. And just a quick reminder here that we are not artificial experts from a technical perspective. So just to ensure that we are on the same playing field, let's quickly just define AI on a very high level. And then we are going to look at the components of artificial intelligence as they existed yesterday, and then how we can optimize our experimentation with use of AI. And I hope you all heard I said as it existed yesterday, because AI as an exponential technology is evolving every second of every day. So what is artificial intelligence? It is the ability, it's not something that's weird out there which we can't see. It is the ability of computers to perform tasks that require intelligence. So artificial intelligence software is computer applications that can perform tasks that had previously needed a person or people to complete the job. That's stated in a very simple way. So the components of artificial intelligence ranges then from vision systems that can see and recognize images. So as an example, from the Tesla space and evolving the autonomous vehicle, what they are using from an artificial intelligence there to gather further data and to develop more smart autonomous vehicles is a vision system, and we're going to look at that in a little bit more detail in a moment. Also, deep learning tools that process massive volumes of data to learn patterns and make decisions on data. So those are just two examples of components of artificial intelligence, right?
Yeah, I think it's important to say that there's actually no magic here. It's not, the computers aren't actually intelligent. Sorry to burst everybody's bubble. They're just learning based on algorithms that have been provided by intelligent humans. So actually it's more artificial than intelligence, but it becomes a bit of a philosophical point, but it's an important point to keep in mind. You know, AI is not going to replace your job. Your job will be replaced by somebody using AI that is enhanced by what other intelligent people have taught the AI to do.
Absolutely. You know, it's just making us as humans a more effective and efficient. And then I can talk to my own story about how I'm using AI to optimize what I'm doing, but that's for another day. So thanks for that, Craig. So the components of artificial intelligence. Now, the word components take on many different words as well. People refer to as the categories of AI, even the SIP, components of AI and so forth. But just for simplicity's sake, I'm going to refer to things like machine learning and NLP and so forth as components of artificial intelligence. So they play a crucial role in optimizing experimentation through the power of AI. So let's just have a quick look at each of these, because we are going to consider this in the case study that we are going to use in a moment. Now, machine learning, ML, and Craig specifically referred to this as an example, is really algorithms enabled systems that automatically learn from the data that it's fed and improve their performance without explicit programming. So it's algorithm driven. And we know of many examples of where algorithms are being used rightly so and wrongly so. And then also in experimentation, and I'm going to share these slides with you. In experimentation, machine learning can be utilized to analyze vast amounts of data, identify patterns, and uncover valuable insights that can inform decision-making and optimize experimental processes. Now, this is where it can take what we do as humans to the next level, even sometimes with possibilities we cannot think of, patterns we cannot recognize. Machine learning can help us see that in the data that we are gathering through experimentation. Then natural language processing, or NLP. This focuses on enabling machines to understand, interpret, and generate human language. Now, in context of experimentation, NLP can help process and analyze textual data such as customer feedback. Now, through experimentation, the whole objective there is to see how customers are going to potentially use this new product or service, or optimize product and service if we build it. So we haven't built it or made changes yet. We're receiving customer feedback, and we're receiving experiment reports from our teams doing these experiments. And NLP will facilitate better understanding of the experimental results and generate actionable insights. And that's quite important. It will help us define what the actions are that we need to take. It enhances our own thinking from that perspective. Then there's expert systems. They are systems that mimic human expertise in specific domains. So they utilize rules and knowledge bases to provide intelligent recommendations and insights. Now, in the context of experimentation again, Expert systems can assist in experimental design, suggesting optimal parameters, variables, and approaches based on established best practice and domain-specific knowledge. So based on the domain in which I'm running the experiment, best practices can then be suggested, and it helps me stay ahead of the competitive curve. Then there's visioning systems. This is also an AI system that Tesla uses. So it utilizes computer vision techniques to extract meaningful information from visual data, such as images and videos. Now, in experimentation, vision systems can aid in analyzing visual data generated during experiments, enabling automated monitoring, anomaly detection, and visual inspection to identify patterns or anomalies that may impact the experimental outcomes. So we think that the experiment is going to run out or roll out in a certain way. By introducing vision systems as a tool in my experiment, it could pick up on anomalies, but also provide great feedback in terms of the experimental outcomes. Now, robotics is not necessarily that robot that's going to move in next week. It's a combination of AI with physical systems to create intelligent machines capable of interacting with the physical world. So we all want that robot who can come and clean the house, but before we're going to build that robot, we need to first ask our future customers if they will buy it if we build it. So in the context of experimentation, robotics can automate various aspects of our experimental processes. And an example includes handling, sample handling, data collection, measurements, enhancing efficiency, and also reproducibility of what we are testing. Then there are speech systems. I'm sure some of you have experimented with some of these systems that we are mentioning here. Now, speech systems involve the recognition and synthesis of human speech. Now, in experimentation, speech systems can enable voice-controlled interfaces with experimental setups, allowing this interaction with the equipment or the control parameters that you implement for your experiment using voice commands and enhancing convenience and efficiency. So that could be an interaction with your customer in your experiment. Now, the last system that we would like to look at is planning and scheduling. Now, this is algorithms where algorithms can optimize the allocation of resources, time, and experimental conditions to achieve the desired goals for your experiment efficiently. So these techniques can help us when we design our experiments to schedule tasks, optimize resource utilization to maximize the effectiveness and the productivity of the experiment that we are launching. Now, that's a lot said. And just to, yes, Craig, before I summarize.
I was going to say, wow, that's a mouthful. So, yeah, I think the important point is that, you know, we don't really need to be that concerned with the technicalities of each of these components, but we do need to understand that artificial intelligence is penetrating. You know, Kathy Wood talks about the platforms for innovation, like blockchain and genome editing, the CRISPR stuff, etc., the various platforms for innovation. And AI has an impact on each of those platforms, like robotics. So, you know, when these technologies were in their infancy and were developing on a linear path, without AI, their trajectory was linear. But with AI, these things are all going exponential, and their impact is accelerating, and their impact is across the platforms because of AI connecting the dots between the opportunities across these innovation platforms. So yeah, you know, it's fascinating, and I don't know if it's a good time to talk a little bit more about the Tesla example, or if that comes later, Liesl. The bigger picture, yeah.
It's actually coming up next.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, so just to summarize then, and to the points that Craig's made, is that when we marry artificial intelligence with experimentation, we are definitely enhancing automation, intelligent data analysis, decision support, innovation, etc., etc. So artificial intelligence definitely accelerates the experimentation process, but also its effectiveness and efficiency. So I hope you can see when we looked at experimentation and then experimentation as an exponential attribute of exponential organizations, marrying that with artificial intelligence can really accelerate your business growth. And obviously, we need to consider whether we have the skill and capability available to do that, but that's points we could potentially discuss later. So let's look at some real life examples where AI experimentation is actually working and in action at this point in time. So, Craig, you wanted to talk about Tesla. You're welcome to.
Thanks, Liesl. Yeah, so if you think of Tesla as a vehicle, it's really more a computer on wheels, and it's more software than anything else. I don't know if anybody's seen that comparison of the components of an electric vehicle versus the components of a traditional combustion engine vehicle. They're about a tenth of the components in an electric vehicle, and most of it is software. And obviously, there are hardware interfaces like the cameras that are using computer vision, AI, to feed the machine. And in the back end, obviously, every vehicle is connected to the internet, and every vehicle talks to the machine learning data center in the back end, Tesla's data center, where they're gathering all of the data from all of the vehicles on a continuous basis and learning things like traffic patterns, pedestrian patterns, any other obstacles that might be picked up by the cameras. There aren't just cameras in the vehicles. There's also LiDAR technology, which is more advanced in terms of picking up distances and picking up other metrics around the vehicles that get fed back into the machine learning environment. And then the algorithms in the machine learning environment are constantly analyzing these patterns and feeding it back to the vehicle to improve the efficiency and effectiveness of the vehicle. There are multiple sensors in the vehicles, things like altimeters, gyrometers, so how fast the vehicle accelerates or decelerates. All of those sensors are feeding the machine. And so there's a massive machine which is essentially taking all of this data and applying the algorithms that are enhanced by the additional information that feeds the back end. So you're not just talking about a vehicle. It really isn't about the vehicle. It's about the data and how the data enhances the experience in the vehicle, and the effectiveness of the vehicle based on machine learning and AI.
Yeah, so there's definitely multiple components of artificial intelligence at play with the Tesla example. And so, and I think an important point, as with the other examples, as we know, Google is embracing a continuous culture of experimentation through how they've revolutionized internet search, online advertising, other digital services, and also they've become a global leader in technology and information as such. So Netflix, also we know that Netflix, if you are a subscriber, where Netflix tells you what Netflix thinks you would like to watch. And also, even when I do Google searches, by the way, even while I'm starting to type my text, you can recognize an AI component in that. Google starts making recommendations on what the search is that I'm looking for. Amazon, the same. We know that Amazon's continuously experimenting and focusing on customer experience. And as such, they've become a dominant force in e-commerce, cloud computing, logistics, etc. And as such, they've reshaped the retail landscape. And that is through artificial intelligence. We know Airbnb as an example as well. That's they're also continuously experimenting. And then Procter & Gamble, which is a consumer goods company, they conduct expensive product experimentation and testing to gather insights and refine their offerings to their customers. So experimentation and using artificial intelligence in their space has also enabled them to launch successful products and adapt to changing customer preferences. Now, we've had a mouthful from myself and Craig on experimentation as an exponential attribute of exponential organizations, and we had a brief introduction to artificial intelligence and its components and the role it can play in optimizing experimentation for business growth. Now, what we would like to do is that we put our knowledge and what we think we thought we heard into practice in this use case activity, where we are going to apply what we have learned about experimentation, and then also about how artificial intelligence can potentially optimize our experiments. So the case study we are going to look at, does everybody know Dropbox? You can just say thumbs up or yes in the chat. Okay, great. Okay, well, I'm going to just provide a brief overview anyway, because the important point in this brief overview is to talk to you about how Dropbox actually experimented before they launched their offering to the market. So we all know that Dropbox is a cloud storage and file sharing service that allows us to store and access our files from various devices. Now, what we might not know is that Dropbox actually, before they launched their product offering, they created an experiment where they created a video talking to what their offering is going to be. And Dropbox was really born out of the frustration of the founders of not being able to access and provide access to their files in one central place online. So they created a simple video explaining the concept and the benefits of their cloud storage service that doesn't exist yet. Remember prototyping experimentation? Will you buy it if we build it? They shared this video online, and then what they did was they tracked user interest and sign-ups for this future product. Now, this experiment then allowed them to gauge the demand of their product and validate its viability without committing any extensive resources. So what they did not do is they did not at that point in time explicitly use artificial intelligence. Remember, this goes back to 2007 when Dropbox was launched, and before then they ran these experiments. So they didn't really use AI to validate the demand and viability of this idea they have. Now, what we are going to do is we are going to look at a couple of the AI components: machine learning, natural language processing, expert systems, and vision systems, to come up with real practical ways that Dropbox could have used artificial intelligence. And maybe they definitely remember the continuous expectation examples of Tesla, Google, Netflix, Airbnb, how they can use these specific components to enhance their offering. So we are going to do this together. We're not, Craig and myself, not going to keep quiet now. What we are going to ask is that everybody participate in this activity, and let's look at a couple of these. I'm just watching time as well. We're going to look at machine learning to start off with, and then see where we get to in about 10 minutes time, and come up with ideas on how these AI components can be used by Dropbox to optimize experimentation and therefore enhance the offering to their customers. Are we all ready to do that together? I'm going to take that as a yes. I'm not monitoring the chats, Craig, so I'm assuming that everybody's in agreement and we understand what we're going to do. So remember, we know what Dropbox is. We are going to look at machine learning as a component on how, practical ways, on how they can apply this component to enhance continuous experimentation. So practical ways to do that. And I've got an example in there in terms of, as an example, they can personalize, if they use machine learning, they can personalize the user experience by recommending relevant files and folders to the user of Dropbox. Now, any further ideas, any other practical ways we can think of? You please unmute yourself, Craig. I'm sure you are monitoring the chat. So we've got, Craig, is that an example? Start small and showcase success to get buy-in. I'm not sure when that was done.
No, that was an answer to Brad's question.
I see,
Yeah.
So any ideas on how Dropbox can use machine learning to optimize their continuous experimentation in their offering to their customers? We have one example there. You're more than welcome to unmute yourselves. Edward, any thoughts from your side?
Let me break the silence with because Dropbox would know how their solution is being used and where, based on usage patterns, where people are getting stuck, they can use the algorithms to identify opportunities to improve the user experience, as an example.
Very good example. Yeah, very good example. Any other thoughts? So just remind ourselves that machine learning uses algorithms to analyze user data, track user interest, and predict demand patterns based on the user's experience or their behavior. So we have these two examples that's been shared. Any other ideas? Are we still getting our minds around this experimentation concept optimized by artificial intelligence?
Yeah, I think we mustn't get stuck on which component can do what. We must rather focus on, you know, AI. What can AI do to enhance the business outcome in broad terms?
Sure, let's do that. Will that help everybody?
Yeah.
Let's see what's in the chat, Craig. Okay, so we've got Bright saying that algorithm for shared file and accessibility, definitely an idea there. If you just reflect on it, let me just put these four components up here. If you look at these four components and you reflect on that specific case study, what other ideas come to mind? Then I will run through some of the ideas which we've prepared. Can visioning systems help Dropbox with continuous experimentation to enhance their offering? If it analyzes visual data, such as user interaction with the online tool to gain insights into behavior and engagement. Expert systems assist in experimenting design by suggesting optimal variables, parameters, and approaches. And then obviously NLP, and I think I'm going to go straight into the examples to help us a little bit in working through this language, NLP, in terms of processing user feedback, reviews, and comments to gain insight into preferences and potential improvements. let's dive into the feedback that we were going to share. And then what I would like you to do instead, with your agreement, is to think of, as we go through these practical ways, how can you apply these components in your organization and in your products. So if we look at machine learning, what Dropbox could do from a practical perspective is that they can use the algorithms to analyze user data and track the user behavior. And that's the example that Craig referred to, such as how are these users interacting with the files that's saved online? What's their preferences in how they sort and file their online files and the sharing of that? That's an example of how it can be used. Craig, can you just monitor the chat there for me, because I see there is some comments popping up. Another way to use machine learning to optimize experimentation by Dropbox is that you can also look at demand patterns. So the machine learning algorithm can start predicting what the demand patterns will be from their customers engaging with Dropbox, and it can analyze both the historical data and it identify correlations between the current behavior of the users, like using factors like time, the features available in Dropbox, etc. And then I've shared the example around personalizing the user experience by recommending relevant files for me. As an example, I can type in a search that I'm looking I want to structure my filing in a certain way, and then based on my behavior, it can predict certain personalization around my specific experience. Is there any feedback in the chat that we want to share, Craig?
Yeah, so Bright's got a couple of ideas there. I think we should get him to elaborate on what he's suggesting there.
Bright, please do, if you don't mind. I don't
Right, you're muted. Are you able to unmute and tell us a bit more about your suggestions around vision system algorithm and monitoring user storage?
Right, if you can tell us if you are able to give us feedback in the chat.
I mean, I can think of, on your user storage point, one of the things that irritated me about Dropbox and I stopped using it was that they're constantly asking you for more money. Bright says he's in a noisy environment, so he can't speak. But they're constantly asking you for more money to to use more storage. You know, that's the essence of their revenue model. I think they would get more users if their algorithms made suggestions to you about content that you haven't used, about cleaning up your content, about compressing your content if it's over a certain age, you know, that type of thing. So yeah, that could all be AI driven.
No, thanks. But thanks for contributing. Please, everybody, do continue to contribute. We will include the comments and feedback in the chat in a follow-up email. Now, if we look at NLP, some ideas here, and I'm not going to go through all of them, is that they can also use NLP for processing our feedback and reviews that they receive and comments by using NLP techniques to identify sentiment. So NLP can even identify human sentiment in these feedbacks so that they can then start extracting key themes and then understand what our preferences and our pain points are. So unfortunately, they did not use NLP when Craig got a little bit irritated and they lost a customer from that perspective. In expert systems, which is something that we can use to design or suggest optimal variables and parameters in our experimentation. An example there includes utilizing the expert system to suggest optimal variables, parameters, and approaches. So instead of us as humans coming up with these ideas, expert systems can help us from that perspective, and then we can conduct experiments related to that and also enhance our onboarding. Craig, I see there's some more chats. Anything that we would like to share?
Yeah, Edward was saying he remembers a Dropbox story from the Lean Startup where they used the video. It could work as a prototype. So yeah, that's just a comment really. Bright is saying the algorithm can track file retention if the file can be archived or deleted in terms of storage for the vision system. Yeah, and Craig Rose confirming that he stopped using Dropbox for the same reason as what I said. So those are the comments.
Some of those components so that they can read your moods.
Yeah.
Good, thanks. And then we've discussed vision systems in the Tesla example, but it even goes as far as where Dropbox can actually recognize and read our facial expressions and understand our engagement from that perspective. And again, it goes to our satisfaction levels during specific tasks or using specific features in the offering. So
yeah, I think what's coming is that instead of typing as the interface to many of these products in future, you will have a video discussion in a Web3 kind of context with the product, and the product will respond to your request and your sentiment and your visual expression and your tone and everything that you're asking it in a much more almost human-like way. So yeah, that's where it's going.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think it's important. What we also need to understand is that many of these components should and could be used to complement each other. So while the visual systems are reading your facial expressions, the data is interpreted in the back by machine learning. JP, I think you've raised your hand.
No, I just wanted to share something that I thought was incredibly fascinating. It's the best implementation of AI that I've seen so far. So the mini case is where NVIDIA has produced this game where you in real time speak a character to you based on obviously the scenario and the quest that you're on, which I found was quite cool. And the other thing that they've done, which is absolutely mind-boggling, is that they take specifications of factories, of machinery and layouts, health and safety, etc., and then they reverse, as far as I understand it, reverse engineer that stuff back into CAD drawings. And the CAD drawings then gets automatically created, and they essentially then construct a digital twin of a factory that they then run simulations through to get optimal output. And at that point where they now see that, okay, everything is now working 100% optimally, only then do they then press the button and then do the actual purchasing and start building the factory. And then you must see they've got a one-on-one of the 3D model and the actual factory. And then they link the digital twin to the sensors in the factory. And it's just unbelievable that you've got two versions in real world and then the digital twin. It's just
and I'm glad
amazing.
I'm glad you're mentioning the digital twin, that it's one of the, from my personal perspective, the digital twin concept is one of the most exciting ways to experiment with new products and services and enhancing existing products and services. Definitely a concept to look into, and it's definitely also supported by artificial intelligence. Now, I'm quickly going to go through the benefits and the steps that you can follow, and then we would like to take some questions, if it's possible. So without going into this into too much detail, I think from the conversation and content that we have shared is that there's definitely scope, that there's a huge business benefits of artificial intelligence experimentation, and it improves decision making. It can definitely enhance customer experience, and if we consider the Dropbox case study that we've discussed, definitely increases operational efficiency, definitely faster time to market, and it enhances the whole idea around will you buy it if we build it instead of build it and then hope somebody buys it. And it definitely can contribute to enhancing your competitive advantage. And I know there's a lot more that we can add here, but these are just some of the main business benefits of AI experimentation. Now, we have designed this process. I'm not going to go through this in detail. We will launch a separate workshop on going into detail into how we can now design effective AI experimentation. So we've created 10 steps, and it starts obviously with I have an idea. I have an idea for new product or service or enhancing existing products and services, whether it's digital or physical does not matter. We then need to identify the key assumptions we are making about this idea. Then only we define the experiment and formulate our hypotheses around these assumptions and the idea. And within that, we start using the prototyping approach in terms of designing our experiments. Very important is to define our critical success factors. We need to understand the matrix and the outcomes that we would like to achieve from launching the experiments, because you can launch multiple experiments, i.e. hyper-zoom your hypotheses and test all of that at the same time. And once we've done that, this is now where we start introducing artificial intelligence as well. Remember, artificial intelligence, some of the components can even help us define the hypotheses already here in step 3. We identify the data requirements. We then select our appropriate AI tools and techniques. We don't have to be the expert. We can use another exponential attribute, which is staff on demand. We can go and find the experts to help us defining our AI experiments. We can then launch our experiments, gather the feedback and data using different AI components that we've identified up front. We then, based on the feedback and data that we've gathered, we optimize the experiment, we reiterate, and then we interpret and communicate our results and launch. And then continuous experimentation needs to take place. And we saw that from some of the real life experiments that we have shared. Craig, are there comments in the chat that we would like to share?
Just to JP's point, I just posted that NVIDIA keynote from the CEO of NVIDIA. It is mind-blowing what they're doing.
Okay, great. So we will share the details of that workshop when we go dive deep into those different steps, and in helping you, now that you understand experimentation as an exponential attribute and how it can enable business growth and how we can optimize experimentation with artificial intelligence. It will then also help us to overcome and minimize this law of market failure. And we know that most ideas fail in the market. And that is really because we build products and services and enhance products and services before we actually obtained real world feedback from our customers in terms of will they buy it if we build it. Instead, what we enjoy doing is we build it, then we hope somebody buys it. Using experimentation and optimizing it through artificial intelligence will really enable us to minimize this law of market failure, where we actually achieve real market and results by matching or surpassing the expected results we anticipated from enhancing the product or service or taking a new product and service to the marketplace. So I'm not going to go into the skills. We know that we need to think differently in order to adopt artificial intelligence experimentation, just experimentation, or even just artificial intelligence. And then also what's very important is that as organizations, we need to change the way we work. And then just in summary, we need to shift from the current way of thinking. There's already shifting happening, but we see it time and time again in organizations that the shift's happening, but too slow, or that there's this immune system that's working against this required shift that's required from the organization. So we need to move from working in silos to interdisciplinary collaboration within the organization. We need to move from experience-based, leader-driven decision-making to experimentation and data-driven decision-making right at the front line. And then we need to shift from rigid and risk-averse to agile, experimental, and adaptable ways of work. Now, there was a mouthful. I'm not going to go through these key takeaways. What I'd rather get to, are there any questions from anybody? And we would like to invite everybody to also participate in responding to some of the questions if there are any.
Yeah, Edward's saying he thinks the biggest challenge in using AI for experimentation is to find the suitable tools and to set it up in a useful way. Liesel, I'm not sure if you want to respond to that or...
Yeah, no, definitely.
Yeah.
I think one of the difficulties we will have to start off with is that we do not necessarily have an understanding of artificial intelligence and how it can contribute, but definitely there are also our lack of understanding in terms of what is the suitable tool. That is why we need to also consider the capability we introduce into our organizations. Do we need now a new role, an AI expert in our organizations? And or if we can also utilize the staff on demand to gain access to AI experts to help us do that. You generally would struggle to identify the suitable tools as well if you are not very clear on what your strategy is and what it is that you want to experiment on. So it's important that the objectives, the hypotheses, and the outcomes of your experimentation is defined clearly to help you select those suitable tools. So it's a very long answer to that. I do have a little document where I took all the components, looked at it, how it can enable experimentation and what different tools are available for that, which I will also share with everybody. But the bottom line is, if we are not the expert, either create a position for an expert, gain access to an expert through staff and demand attribute, which is an exponential attribute, and also then be very clear on your experiment and what it is that you want to test and the outcomes that you would like.
I've also shared with Edward, well, with everybody for that matter on the chat in response, the prototyping canvas. And what we're doing is we're looking at the method that the canvas outlines and looking at which AI approaches, methods, tools we can apply to the canvas to guide you through making your experimentation more effective using AI.
So there's also Craig Rose saying for him it's important to understand when does artificial intelligence become authentic. Craig, Blanche, would you like to respond to that?
It's a philosophical one. So at the end of the day, we need to make sure that we remain human. And in reality, artificial intelligence, in my view, will never become authentic because it's just mimicking human authenticity.
I think it goes back to one of your polls that you've launched. I think this one was yesterday, Craig T. In terms of also seeking the right blend between human, business, and technical elements of when you consider using artificial intelligence as well, because if the human's not authentic, then it introduces other interesting challenges as well. To summarize, please do keep on posting your questions. We will get to answer them, and we will definitely invite you to our future workshops as well. What I would like to ask everyone now is, and I'm going to send it to those who had to leave due to time, is to please look at this poll which I'm launching and tell us, in terms of this topic, what is it that you would like to learn more on? And we will do our best to meet those needs and requirements and keep you posted on when we will make content available on that, if we do not have that already. I have launched the poll. You should be able to see it if you look at your Zoom screen. Craig, are you seeing it? There we go. We are getting responses. If you can just take a couple of seconds. We've got 20 seconds left. Is everybody seeing the poll? I'm not sure if everybody's seeing the poll. There we go. I'm getting responses.
Sorry, and I'm also posting the poll related to authenticity, which was a LinkedIn poll.
Are you posting that in the chat, Craig?
In the chat, yeah.
Thank you. Okay, good. Just 2 more, and then I'll also send the poll to the people who had to leave. Okay, there we go. Good. Thank you very much for that feedback. We are going to share with you when we are going to have workshops on this content, and also our knowledge nuggets that's available on this. I'm going to end the poll now. Thank you for your participation. Good. So just from our side, what we would like to encourage is that please continue having the conversation around this topic and engage with us on this topic specifically, and let's help each other grow and develop and learn how we can further optimize our experiments with artificial intelligence. I think it starts with understanding experimentation and really how you can uncover new opportunities to optimize your organization and help you become adaptable, innovative, etc. And then let's introduce artificial intelligence as a further catalyst for innovation, efficiency, and strategic growth in your organization. So don't fear this topic. It's important to engage it. It's important to start working with it. It's important to adopt the mindset of fail fast, learn fast, and also in terms of continuous learning. This approach will definitely help us redefine success, help us stay ahead in the future of business, and it will help us unlock the full potential and discover new potential for our businesses. So we would like to invite you to take the time, ignite exponential growth in your organization, and please do contact us. I'm going to share a quick reference guide that summarizes all the content that we've covered, and we are going to launch a course on this topic where we dive deeper into each of the ideas that we have shared with you. Our contact details are on this slide. I know most of you have our community at Exo Futures. You also have, some of you may have Liesel at Exo Futures and Craig at exofutures.africa. We will send you an email to firstly, again, thank you for joining us, and then also to share all the collateral that we have discussed, including this presentation. So thank you very much. Have a wonderful day further. I think some of us need to go to bed because I think it's now about 11:30 p.m. in America, and then enjoy the rest of your week. Craig, any closing comments?
Yeah, I'm just thinking about Craig Rose. One of the Kingdom Valley projects is Copy the Bible, where they have targeted the languages where the Bible hasn't been printed in those languages yet. So imagine if you used NLP. So, and many of those languages don't have even have alphabets. But if you used NLP, so natural language processing, to at least begin to capture the Bible in that language, then you could use text, speech to text, to translate that into, or into the printed version. So there's definitely a place for AI in that project, Craig, which we can explore.
Thank you very much. Everybody have a wonderful, I don't know how much left of the Tuesday there's in some of your days, but have a wonderful rest of Tuesday and enjoy the rest of your week. And we look forward to being in touch with you soon. Bye-bye, everybody.
Thank you, everyone. Cheers.